Now in this session, one of the things I wanted to try to pass on some tips that I've learned, and obviously I've learned them all the hard way. Many years of painting things, too many to remember. One of the things I want to do is put an 1/8 inch stripe around this wheel. Now the problem is I want to get it a certain amount from the edge and a certain amount from here, but I don't want it to be exactly in the middle. The problem with having it exactly in the middle, if it's off just a little bit, your eye picks it up right away. So I came up with the dimensions that I want. I want to have it exactly 1/8 of an inch from the inside, which will make it a little bit more to the outside. So what I did, and I want to pass on some of the tips when you're using tape. Now I use a lot of tape in the shop. Obviously in 50 years of painting, 52 years, you get a lot of tape. Old tape is good for one reason. You can save it, and what happens, it gets stickier and stickier as time goes by, so you can, at some point in time, just throw it away. But tape comes in two separate types. One is kind of like a papery tape, one is a vinyl. The papery tape has some advantages, the vinyl tape has some advantages in terms of making curves and straight lines and paint edges. Now, if you're doing anything with, like a model airplane with butyrate dope, for instance, you lay down the paper tape, and usually you would airbrush on a coat of clear, either butyrate dope or lacquer, just to seal it up. Well, with vinyl, you really don't have to do that with modern paint. So what I wanted to do now, in the past, what I tried to do, I put this in the wheel jig, spun the wheel, and then tried to hold a pencil on here and try to get a nice line. What happens? It chews up the paint. I didn't like that. I just didn't want to risk that since we got a lot of time in this wheel. So what I want to do is taking an old roll of tape, and believe me, I just bought this tape just the other day, so that what the tape that's actually going to make a paint mask, this is going to be a border, this is old tape, brand new tape that's, you know, hopefully when you buy things commercially, you never know. Could be sitting on the shelf, you know, since the time of dinosaurs. And another, a brand new razor blade, fresh out of the pack. And what that does, it stacks the deck in your favor. Now, when we used to paint model airplanes, there's always a trick. There's a trick to everything in life. If you know the tricks, it just makes it easier. One of the tricks is, if you have a model plane, may as well just, you can relate this to motorcycles, this is going to be the side you see most, the top, this is going to be the bottom. So what you do is you take your tape and you do the bottom first, you practice on the bottom. Because what happens after using tape for an hour or so, you develop a little finesse, a little feel, and the top side will always be nicer than the bottom that way. Now with a wheel, obviously both sides have to be right. So what I thought I'd do is, if I can't get the first one right, that I'm happy with it, I'll just do it over. That's the nice thing about laying out tape. If you watch any of the car shows, Bitchin' Rides or any of them, Chip Foose, you can lay tape out. This tape comes up and down 8-10 times, it doesn't matter. I get a brand new razor, make a nice clean cut here. I don't want to cut through the paint. Now, okay, a lot of people, this probably be a good question to answer right now. Why not just put the tape? You can buy this, and you put the tape on. You don't even have to take the wheel off the motorcycle. Most people don't even wipe the wheel off. Well, that's fine if that satisfies your needs. But in this case, this is a bike that I have put hundreds of hours into, and I don't want to feel a tape edge. I want this to be covered with clear, but I don't want to be able to run my finger over this. And when I've done other bikes and I've sanded this up to the last coat of clear with some 2000 grit paper, put on that final coat of clear, what happens, you, for all purposes, cannot feel that. Now that's always a thing. When you're doing your own custom work, you have to set the bar where you want it. Now some people, of course, would just put the tape on, it would go like that, and they'd walk away and go, wow, I got custom striping on my wheels. And to be honest, I've looked in showrooms at some of the factory applied tape. It's really not great. Anyway, but if you do it yourself, of course, you can do it over and over until it meets your standard. So what we have is old tape. And what I'm doing is I'm lining up my eye as I'm doing this. Now I know an hour into this I'm going to be really a lot more comfortable than I am right now, because I haven't done this since last year. So it does take some time to get used to it. Now usually you would hold the tape in one hand, press down with the other hand. If you try to do it some other way, well, yeah, maybe you have to develop your own way. I can only show the way that's worked for me, and we have developed little things that work for us over the years, both with airplanes and motorcycles. And these seem to be just things you can pass on relatively quickly and easily. And I like to watch all the car shows, all those custom car shows. I'm not really a car guy, but I know I can pick up information. And motorcycle people don't tend to be as technical as the airplane people, but the airplane people, the minute there's a tip, something you can use, boy, it spreads like wildfire, which of course is good. It just makes the enjoyment of what we do. Now, I know several people that have wheels they would like to refinish over the winter. And so the purpose of all these videos that I've been putting on YouTube, you can decide for yourself if it's worth the effort. To some people, it's not worth the effort. Some people could care less if they, they have soda cans for wheels. But I know when we did Glenn's wheels on his Ducati, for instance, the gold wheels, virtually everybody that ever sees those wheels says, whoa, well, that's just not a typical powder coat job. You know, that's like you dip it in a bathtub of powder coat. It really did look nice. Now, the purpose, again, this is good. This tape is going to come up, so I'm not ultra fussy about this. But what I do want to get, this is just going to set my tape in place, and it's going to set it at an asymmetrical part on the wheel. So it's not going to be right in the middle. When you try to make something exactly in the middle, your eye picks up right away if it's the tiniest bit crooked. If it's asymmetrical, if it's off to one side or the other, you can kind of cheat the system just a little bit. Now, all this tape is here for, it's only there as a guide. Now I've got the fresh tape, the tape that I really, hopefully this is going to be a slam dunk job here. But I know when I go to do the other side of the wheel or the next wheel, what's going to happen, I'll have my technique just a little bit, and it's strange how quick it comes back. It does come back. Not sure why you lose it in the first place. But I know I've tried to do this several other ways. This way seems to be the devil I know. And now once I have a day that's appropriate for painting, this whole wheel will get painted with black urethane. When I pull up this blue stripe, the one I'm laying down right now, when I pull that up, I should have a 1/8 stripe of the Camaro green, General Motors Synergy green. And for anybody that doesn't go back many years in the world of painting, when we used to do acrylic lacquers and Imrons and older paints, it was a lot more difficult than these modern materials. The urethanes, oh my God, they're so easy to use, it's ridiculous. And especially for a motorcycle where the weight is not a factor. Model planes still really need butyrate dope to keep the weight down. So our first original tape that was just a pattern, well, as soon as we're done with this, we'll pull that up. And then the next step will be to load up the gun with black urethane and wait for a time of the day when it's not either humid, raining, flock of birds flying over that have just eaten at White Castle, something. It's always something. Now what I always try to do in the shop too is have several projects going at the same time, because on a day that it's raining I can do work, certain things. On a day when it's paintable I like to have the shelf over there lined up with stuff ready to be painted. So this wheel in essence will be ready to be painted when we're done with this session. In fact, we're going to be done with it right away. But yeah, it's such a unique thing to me that once you've done this for about, in my case it's about an hour. The second hour you just start laying tape and you can go through a roll of tape in a third the amount of time. But that first roll, and I don't know why that is. But I did like the way the RD wheels came out. I love the R1 wheels. And since the wheels are one of the focal points of a motorcycle, this will make it just a little unique. I'll have the spare set for the track bike of the silver wheels. And switching the wheels out probably takes just a minimum amount of time, so. Okay, we're pretty much here. Might have been a little boring watching it, but just so people can see, I always like to see things in real time. I never like to see things on TV or whatever that have a camera cut. I don't know when that camera cut, if it took them 3 hours to do it. You can pretty much estimate how long it took to lay that tape out. Press it down nice, and of course when we're pulling it up after the paint is on, good idea to warm it up with a hairdryer. Just make it warm, room temperature. Get rid of the scrap. Let me just take a little peek here. Yeah, I really think that's going to be, see now, when I say asymmetrical, it's a little bit less here than it is here. But if that stripe were exactly in the middle, boy, in the middle, the little, if it's off a 64th of an inch as the wheel is spinning, you'll see it looks like it's a drunk worm. Anyway, our other little projects that we've been working on, we have the base of Luciano's parts done. We have some of the carrier parts. The disc has to be redone. We have the new curvy girls here. And I'm going to be making up another windshield for the bike. I have a crack in one. It's amazing. I got a crack in 2 of the 8 bikes have cracked windshields this year. I don't know how that happened. I'm not sure. Anyway. But as the parts come online and as they get finished, it just makes for a lot of fun. And of course, we always like to have some nostalgia things, thinking about our old West Cooley bikes from the late 70s, early 80s.